the order I would do my makeup in if I wanted a full glam.
I'm Maybe Burke and you're watching Makeup for Lost Time. This is my series for trans women and other people who feel like they missed a few classes when it came to learning about makeup.
Starting with an eyeshadow base, this is the one from Louise that is so well loved you can barely even see what it says. Now, I already have on skincare and things that I would do to prep, so I'm not skipping that. I'm just not showing it to you right now. So I'm just starting with a coat of this base and giving it a good amount of time to like work in and make sure that it like dries down in one nice even layer, because if not, it can separate pretty easily. I've had some trouble with this stuff like separating and creasing on me, and I'm pretty sure it's because I'm not letting it properly dry before I move on with the next steps. So let it dry with my eyes mostly closed while I put on some lip conditioner. Okay, you see a little bit of the prep. Okay, and once that feels like it's in a good place, eyeshadow. I personally feel like a full glam has not been achieved if eyeshadow is not part of the equation, but it's worth noting that I'm an eyeshadow first girly, and I don't mean that like what I'm doing right now, putting eyeshadow on before my base. I mean, I am that girly, obviously, but I also started with eyeshadow before base. I mean, in terms of like everyday wear, I was wearing bases on stage before that, but for me, eyeliner and eyeshadow were my first like forays into wearing makeup on a regular basis. To the point that I would wear full eye makeup without any other makeup on some days, because it's what I liked, it's what I wanted to do. I'm doing this with pretty neutral tones. I feel like full glam doesn't really always call for like fun creative makeup, so we'll just start here and kind of see where it goes. See, just like highlighting the eyes there feels like we're already on our way to a glam. I don't usually go glitter, but something glam, glitter, why not? And I feel like with the like reddish of that base, this one is a nice color to use. So I'm popping that on like the middle of the lid over most of what we've already covered. And then I'm gonna come in with this like yellowish gold. And this one's like fun and has funky like shapes to it. Let's see if I can get this angle. But it's like almost like a fire multi-chrome, blending these two glitters into each other. I'm a big fan. Where the fuck did my mirror go? Where the fuck did... Oh, it fell on the floor. Blending out those edges. And eyeliner. We're gonna take a pencil under the eye and a liquid over the eye. The pencil I'm using is brown, kind of just to match the tones in that, but it is a darker shade of brown than the one that I was using, so it still is reading more black. And I'm just gonna make a tiny wing. I'm not quite following the shape of the wing of the shadow, but also not just leaving the liner along the lash line. And then I'm just gonna actually hold off on the eyes there and move on to my base. I have quite a bit of glitter fallout, so I'm just gonna wipe it up with a towel. It's still gonna be there, but I'm fine with some of its remaining. And then because that probably did wipe off a lot of my skincare, I'm just gonna dab a little eye cream right where I wiped that. And then I am taking my peach color corrector and using that just where I want to cancel out some blue before I'll take a full coverage foundation. It doesn't need to be full coverage, but I find that when I'm going full glam, I like a full cover. Working that into my brush and stippling it on from the center of the face out. I like to have more coverage on the bottom half of my face, so I will usually start with my brush around my chin and then go up towards the temple, but choose your own adventure as you want your coverage to land. And with full coverage, we really need to cover everything because it's very obvious if we forget the forehead, and blend down the neck. Then I'm going to match it with a full coverage concealer. Again, well loved, you can't see, it's Juvia's Place. And this is coming not just under the eyes, but it's also going to be highlighting down the center of the face. Give us some dimension and shading. And then a step that you're not going to see enough on social media is weight. I let this sit for a little bit so the coverage is most densely populated where it's sitting now. And then I'm going to come in with a little bit of bronzer. Especially because of the brown of this eyeshadow, I just want to warm up the face a little bit. But also with the full coverage of it all, you lose a lot of the actual skin-like shape. So while I'm not always a bronzer girly, if I'm full coverage and if I'm full glam especially, I definitely want to get with all my steps. And this is a cream bronzer. We will be doing powder steps as well. And let's grab a liquid blush. This we're just hitting the high point of the cheek. And it's okay if we come into where that concealer is a little bit. We're going to blend them together in just a second. Actually, this is kind of diffusing the edge of that concealer, and that's great. Tip of the nose, and what's left a little bit dusting the forehead. Coming back in with my foundation brush, not dipping it back in anywhere, and just using it to blend out where that concealer has been sitting. See, I like this brush that has like a little bit of a tip to it, because I can get right in under the eyes and give that kind of smoothless blend. I know you can do that step before you blend out the blush if you want the blush to be more present, but I know I'm going to go in with a powder at the end, so I'm okay with where it is right now. And at this point, we're going to spray it down. Coming in with a setting spray, and I'm going to like douse my face in this. And then we let that dry down. And I'm actually going to use this opportunity to get some of that concealer off my lips, because it was starting to look a little too monochromatic. And we'll do a little lip balm over that for the time being. Then powders. I really need one of those electrical fans, but I'm going to wait while this completely dries down before grabbing a powder. This is actually a powder blush that I'm using as a powder bronzer. It is a little bit more of a warm bronzery tone on me, and again, you'll know I don't love too much bronzer for me, so I feel like this works. But don't worry, we're still doing a powder blush. Actually, we're doing a cream to powder blush. That's because this formula is just really scrumptious. You could wear this on its own, but I like to have something underneath it as well, but just like the pigment payoff is unmatched with this. Then we'll take a loose powder just to lightly set down the center of the face, anywhere that we might get shiny or might crease. I like to use a pink powder because I like pinks and cool tones on me, and I'm using this to mattify but also set where those lines are. So thinking about my smile lines, the line across my forehead, things like that. And then a pressed powder. Honestly, I don't usually do both of these powder steps, but in the name of full glam, we're going to. I've talked about this technique being one that I've learned from makeup artists, and it does work to get like a smooth base and to keep that locked in place. But with my dry ass skin, I'm not doing it all the time. So we do one last pass of setting spray. Again, douse that face and let it dry. But this time we have other things to do while that dries. We're gonna finish off the eyes, going in with a little mascara, and this is literally a little mascara because it's a mini that I have. But a look like this is actually calling for false lashes. We'll still do a little mascara to help it blend in. And this is why we did a wing, but just a little one, because it helps when it all kind of marries together. Then we're gonna finish this off with a lip liner, dab off the balm we had on, then a lipstick, topped with a lip gloss. Finishing off with a brow gel, and some people would argue that brows go first, but as somebody who doesn't need to fill them in at all, I can mess up what I've done with my foundation and other steps, so I like to do them last. The last step I'm going to take is a little highlighter, and this can actually be done in a couple of different ways, in a couple of different areas, in a couple of different steps, but I've been kind of into the like bold 2016 cheek of highlighter. That's just like a sheen over my blush. So that's what I chose to do today. And there we have a full glam. It's a little more than the glam that I typically do, but I figured I would give you like every step so that you know where everything goes and how I would use every step of a process. You obviously don't have to do this much, and maybe I can do a full face with reduced steps of what we did today next week. But let me know if this is helpful and stick around as we make up for lost time.